It's something old, it's something new, it's something borrowed, and you can even get it in blue. We'll drive it this week on Motoring 99.
TSN's Motoring 99 is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oils, formulated for the vehicles you drive and the way you drive them. And Midas Car Care, the way it should be.
Beverly Hills, California, the playground for the rich, and a fitting place for Jaguar to showcase its latest offspring. Hello everybody and welcome to Motoring 99. The car I'm talking about, of course, is the S-type, which will put Jaguar in a completely new luxury segment. We'll talk more about that later on. But you know, despite all the designing and engineering that goes into any new vehicle like the S-type, its success could be in the hands of one person in a showroom. And we all know most of us would rather get a root canal than deal with a salesman. Well, our first story should offer some hope, not only for consumers, but also for manufacturers, that things could be changing and for the better.
Price, yes, of course it has a lot to do with it. But if they're not happy with the person that's assisting them in the selection of their new purchase, the price, they can still go somewhere else.
3 years ago, Darren George left his job at a dealership and began the Automotive Sales College. The 3-week course costs $1,500 and guarantees the graduates a job. But George is well aware of the public's disdain for car salesmen and admits much of it is deserved. So his goal is to produce graduates who will bring back some respectability to the job and improve the showroom experience for the customer.
We don't teach fast talk here. There's no tricks to the trade either. So a good salesperson is someone that's actually been at a dealership for a period of time, built up a client base, and has lots of repeat business. And that's what a good salesperson is. It's not the fast talking type.
Welcome to ABC Chrysler. My name is Tony Khera. And your name is?
Jenny.
Jenny. And your last name is?
Lee.
Lee. Nice meeting you, Lee.
Nice meeting you.
Is this your first visit to our dealership?
We take the people right through the proper introductions, contact questions. We get into customer psychology. We teach the students how to prospect. We also teach vehicle presentations and demonstration drives properly with customers.
You enjoy the vehicle, the features of the vehicle?
Oh yeah, everything's located at very convenient places. I enjoy the stereo system actually a lot.
How about the ride?
It's very smooth. Yeah, it's all right. The reason why I want to get into the business is I want to try to get rid of that stereotype, at least for myself. Maybe like there are some people in the business who are like that, but I know that I'm going to be 100% genuine with my customer, and if I'm truthful with them, then I'll receive the most benefits from them.
Thank you for calling Avis Motors. My name is Jenny. Your name is?
If you don't have a good sales department, everything else will slow right down. Okay? And when I mean strong, I don't mean aggressive and fast-talking, Armani-suited, Hugo Boss type salespeople. I'm just talking straightforward people that are just doing a good job with repeat business. What will happen is that the sales department indirectly feeds the rest of the department, the whole dealership. So once again, if you're selling 50 to 100 to 150 cars a month, that means that they will have to come back for, the cars will have to come back for warranty work. The dealerships make money on the whole picture, not just the sales department. You'd be surprised, a lot of people actually enjoy going into dealerships. I mean, the majority of people actually really do enjoy going into a dealership. Some people will actually outright tell the salesperson, I like the whole process, which is fine.
You're serious?
Oh yeah, people come in, I mean, if you sell 10 cars in a month, half of them will probably say, yeah, I had a great time. I mean, it was a lot of work, I had to do a lot of stuff to get to the day that I did it, but once I did it, man, they're happy as anything. And they'll actually, they're actually shaking the salesperson's hand saying, thanks a lot, this was a lot of fun.
Well, there are many who would find that statement hard to swallow, and those people are turning to the internet to arm themselves with information.
The people that do access the internet for pricing purposes, You know, they eventually do have to go to the dealership. Long-term effects of the internet, I think it's only going to do anything but help the car business and the sales industry. So for salespeople in the car business, that's an asset to them.
Trunk. You can fit basically any kind of equipment in here. You mentioned you played hockey, and the kids play hockey. You can put everything in there. And if you go on a lot of trips, you can fit all the luggage. For a family of 4, it easily fits in. I believe that you've got to. You've got to know the line. And just like they said in the Music Man, you've got to know the territory, and you've got to know what you're talking about.
So will the stereotype ever change? I think it's going to change. I'm trying my best, and the college here is trying its best to eliminate that stereotype.
Are you going to be a good salesman?
Well, with the training which I got here at the Automotive Sales College will help me, and with the proper product knowledge, I could be one of the best.
If a customer feels that in the negotiations, let's say
you know, graduates of this program may find fewer places to ply their trade in the coming years, but it's probably going to be less confusing. I'll tell you why later on Kenzie's Corner.
Being an E-Class, this car comes one way and that's loaded. The part I really like though is the audio equipment. It allows you to dial a telephone number through the keypad and then use this microphone for hands-free operation. Considering the type of car you're piloting, that is a very sensible idea. This week we take a look at a Mercedes-Benz, but no ordinary Mercedes-Benz is this. This is the E55, a street-legal race car. The transformation from E to Super E starts when an E-Class is shipped from the factory to AMG. Here the suspension, tyres, brakes, engine and transmission are all modified. Start with the suspension. It uses the same double wishbone design up front and sophisticated 5-link configuration in back as the base model, but features springs that are 35% stiffer than the stock units and a special set of Bilstein digressive gas-charged shocks that include tension springs. The digressive part allows the shocks to offer low levels of damping over small bumps, but when the going gets quick they firm up to offer a level of damping that all but eliminates body movement. Next comes the staggered tyres. Up front you'll find two 45/40/18s, while in back there's a mammoth set of 275/35 ZR18s. These things provide endless amounts of grip once up to temperature. The 55 romped through the pylons without showing any sign of roll, and surprisingly little in the way of oversteer. Suffice it to say, this is one of the quickest tested to date. It's under here that you'll find the really big difference. This engine starts as a 5-litre V8. It's stroked and breathed upon by AMG to the point where it produces 349 horsepower and 391 pounds-feet of torque. That means this thing's good enough to run from rest to 100k in 5.3 seconds. But believe it or not, that's not where this car excels. Now this is where this car excels. To go between 80 and 120 takes but 4.5 seconds, and to 160, well, you better be hanging on. The 5-speed automatic used in the E comes from the Mercedes V12 models. It delivers crisp, well-spaced shifts that adapt to the driver's habits. Tromp the gas a lot and it will hold each gear a little longer. Cruise and it upshifts early to deliver some semblance of fuel economy. It really is a delightful package. As with any car worth its salt, the E55 comes with an electronic stability control program and traction control. Now in essence what this does, it controls the vehicle by limiting the horsepower and applying the brakes to prevent excessive wheel spin and fishtailing if you get a little too happy with the car. The problem is that the one on the E55 comes in far too often and far too early, and compounding that, you cannot turn it off. Do me a favour, I'm the driver, let me drive the car. The binders are one of the 55's highlights. The massive 4-wheel disc brake setup uses 4-piston calipers and 2-piece rotors up front. This allows many high-speed stops without running headlong into the wall of fade. During the test, the E55 required just 112 feet to stop from 80k. Factor in the sophisticated anti-lock system, limited nosedive and a pedal feel that's easily modulated, and things don't get much better.
You know, at about $100,000, let's be honest, there aren't going to be a whole lot of us rushing out to buy an E55. That said, if you've got the dosh, that car brings its very own unique rewards. Well, the Jaguar S-Type is getting the once-over here at the Rockstore Diner in Southern California. Now, this place has a real interesting history, and we'll tell you about that in a few minutes. But first, you know, when Ford purchased Jaguar, a lot of the cynics believed they would simply swallow the company up. Well, the XK8 was pure Jag and an instant success. As we're about to see, Jaguar is hoping for the same for what many are affectionately calling the baby Jag. When the S-Type was unveiled this year at the Birmingham Auto Show, it signified Jaguar's foray into a brand new segment and customer base. But the baby Jag also marked the first offspring to be conceived jointly by Jaguar and Ford. The S-Type shares its platform and assorted other componentry with the Lincoln LS. There were fears Jaguar risked losing its unique essence.
I think it's a valid question to ask. And I think we have to keep checking ourselves that we're true to Jaguar. It's very clear, though, if we bring a car to the market that isn't a Jaguar, it will not be successful.
We've made sure in our collaboration with the Lincoln team that we've managed to create two very different cars, very distinct cars, and create a real Jaguar right from the ground up. World-class suspension systems, world-class body structures, and a real state-of-the-art technology car as well. So there's no compromises, there's no fears, there's a true Jaguar here.
Well, we're trying to feed back a little bit to the Mark II, so it takes you back into Jaguar's past, but this clearly is not a car for the past, it's a car for the future.
Well, the first thing I asked myself when I hopped in the car is this a Jaguar? And the first thing that struck me was that, yes, it is. I mean, it even smelled like a Jaguar. I think the styling is definitely reminiscent of older Jaguars. Especially in the front. I'd say in the back, it's not quite as Jaguarish as I'd like to see it.
It looks more like a...
Well, I hate to say it, but it has a little Ford look in the back to me.
This car is going to appeal to a lot of people, obviously, and we're looking at it to bring our average age of our owners down, because obviously it's more affordable and it will appeal to a lot younger audience. But also I think we'll find that it will see a lot of new people driving Jaguar, because already we're seeing current Jaguar owners lining up to buy this car as a second car in the family. So it's going to put more Jaguars in the garage, but across a very wide demographic base.
It's nice. It actually looks a lot like the Volvo. A lot of the lines are very similar to the new S80 Volvo. So.
Would it get you off your bike?
No. Not even a Volvo will get me off.
Our Midas tip of the week concerns using your tire pressure gauge. I advise you to buy a good quality tire pressure gauge and keep it on the sun visor as a constant reminder that you need to check those tire pressures regularly. Here's how you do it. Ideally, your vehicle should have the correct length valve stems so that you can use a little plastic cap like this to keep them covered and clean. If that's the case, first thing you do is take that little knob on the back of your tire pressure gauge and just blip a little bit of air out of that valve to purge any dirt or water that's in there. Put the gauge squarely on the tip of the valve and press in firmly and get your reading. Now, if your vehicle has valve extensions, they look something like this, and they thread onto shorter valves to extend them past certain hubcaps or wheel discs. If you have valve extensions, it's even more important that you use that little tip to purge the valve. Now, that little spurt that you saw of liquid coming out is water that typically enters the valve stem with this type of an extension. So it's important that you get it out of there and not drive it into your gauge, because it'll wreck your gauge no matter how good it is. And take your reading, once again, by pressing squarely on the tip of the valve stem. So remember to purge a little bit of air out of every valve before you take a reading. That'll protect your gauge. Check your tires monthly and adjust them accordingly. And make sure that you check them and adjust them when they're cool or cold. That's your Midas tip of the week.
We're back at the Rockstore Diner in Cornell, California. Back in the 1800s, this was a stagecoach stop for for travelers between Los Angeles and San Francisco. Now, for the past 40 years, it's been a Sunday afternoon stop for bikers from all over Southern California. They tell us close to 5,000 to 8,000 bikes will end up here on any given Sunday afternoon. They even tell us Jay Leno and Arnold Schwarzenegger have been known to drop by on their favorite bike. And as you can see, the S-Type has been getting some close scrutiny by these bikers, so we thought, why not take a poll?
I think it's a very nice, nicely designed automobile. I had an opportunity to look at it and sit in at the auto show in LA. I was very impressed with it. And it's been a long time since cars impressed me that much.
Yeah, great. Real slick. Real slick. It looks like it moves. Looks like it's ready to take the corners. I like that. Like a sedan with some power, and I like it. I like it a lot.
They're taking on BMW and Mercedes. Do you think they have a chance, or so they're going up against?
I don't know. Give me the keys. I'll let you know.
What do you think?
I probably wouldn't buy it.
Why is that?
Why is that? Just from past reputation. You know, for maintenance and so on and problems. But I'm a US type.
Ford?
I only buy, well, I know it's a Ford now, but I'm a Chevy man and so on. So it's nice, but nothing special to me.
Jaguar would like to see more women driving this car. They think it's going to appeal to women. How do you feel about it?
I think that's very true. I think it's a very sexy car. It's very classic looking. It's clean. It's not really big, which is one of the things that I think a lot of women are going to like about it. It's a beautiful color. It's nice. It's very nice.
Well, a tough crowd, but I'll tell you, this S-Type got a lot of attention here from men and women who really have motorcycles on their mind, and at least for Jag, that's a good beginning. Now, you know, if Bill Gardner was here, I bet you he'd think he died and gone to heaven. Right, Bill?
Well, Brad, you're absolutely right. As you know, motorcycles are my first love. But what do you think those motorcycle guys would think if I walked in with a pair of pantyhose? I think they'd throw me out of there in a hurry. Anyhow, this pair of pantyhose is going to get me out of a big problem that we're in today. We're in the east end of the city with our production van broken down. I want to get to the west end where my shop is, and we're about $140 worth of towing between the two. So what I want to do is use this pantyhose to limp the van back to the shop. Now here's the problem we had with our production van. It's the alternator. It's a pretty obvious situation. We're going to start it up. Go ahead and start it, and you'll hear the problem. The alternator is howling like crazy right now, and if we run it for more than a minute or two, it gets so hot that it starts to smoke. Okay, shut it off. Now we can use this belt routing decal to understand what we're going to do here. Up here in this corner is the alternator, and that's where our problem is. It's partially seized up. So we've got to get the belt off there. It was actually starting to screech. And right here is our water pump pulley, and this is the crank pulley. What I'm going to do is take the belt off and get it out of there. Then I'm going to use the pantyhose to go from the crankshaft pulley to the water pump pulley right here. That'll turn our water pump and turn our fan blades enough that we can get engine cooling, and we can limp this thing back to the shop. Now this can take a few minutes to pull off. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and it doesn't work on absolutely every vehicle, but in this case it's going to save us a big tow bill. So let's get started. Well, it didn't take as long as I thought to get back to the shop. A couple of things to keep in mind. You've got to avoid the highway. I took the back streets so that I could keep the speed down and keep an eye on the temp gauge. That's one thing you want to do. Make sure the temperature doesn't climb up too high. It's going to run hotter than it should. You want to try something like this, obviously, when the temperatures are a little bit cooler. If it happens to be the summertime, that would mean first thing in the morning or late at night. You've got to keep the speeds down. Keep an eye on that temp gauge so that it doesn't overheat. And remember that you can't pull this off on every vehicle, although this vehicle has a serpentine belt and a tensioner. A lot of people say it won't work on this vehicle. Well, you can, as you see here, we made it back to the shop with the pantyhose still on there, and it's still hanging in there, still turning that fan blade and water pump. Now, It's a good idea to keep a pair of those pantyhose in the glove box or in the trunk of your car because you never know when you might want to use them. I'll tell you, I keep a pair in my pickup truck and I've used them on many a customer's car to limp it back to the shop. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 99.
Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge trucks. Well, not anymore because Plymouth is toast, at least in Canada, leaving Chrysler with Chrysler cars, Dodge trucks, and Jeep sport utilities. Ford has also announced that they're dumping the Mercury brand in Canada. Why not? Mercury's are just Fords with a different badge. The question is, are they going to do the same thing in the States? Well, I think they probably will, because if it makes sense here, it's bound to make sense there. Then again, Ford has just spent hundreds of millions of dollars moving the headquarters of the Lincoln Mercury division to California so they can be closer to their hippest customers. Sometimes I wonder if the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. And then there's our friends at General Motors. They've got something like 9 brands: a Chevrolet, Pontiac, Buick, Oldsmobile, Cadillac, Saturn, Saab, Isuzu, and GMC truck. Surely that's too confusing. Now, GM says they need these different brands to appeal to different slices of the market. Who are they kidding? Honda sells Accords to everybody, Toyota sells Camrys to everybody, and they end up being the best-selling car in North America. If General Motors combined sales of Lumina and Monte Carlo and Intrigue and Buick and all the rest of them, they'd be the #1 selling car in North America. Think of the bragging rights. And if they combined GMC and Chevrolet pickup trucks, they'd have the best-selling truck in the world. That's got to be worth something. Plus, it would cost them less to engineer the cars and save money on the dealership organization, too. Now, I don't know which brands they're going to dump. They don't pay me enough money to make that decision. But one thing for sure, it would be a whole lot less confusing for the poor consumer and a whole lot less confusing for those new sales reps. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Well, the car is now in the showroom, and Jaguar will soon discover if their decision to reach into the past to develop the new S-Type was the right one. And speaking of the past, one gentleman remarked to me on seeing the new car that he has fond memories of Jags when they were simply lovely pieces of junk. Well, it's safe to say that Jaguar is pleased that some of its history will remain just that, a memory. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
It's inspired by military aircraft, high-speed trains, Indy cars. It took 4 months to get it to where it is now. It's a fully drivable vehicle.
TSN's Motoring 99 has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oils, formulated for the vehicles you drive and the way you drive them. And Midas Car Care, the way it should be.